Hello everybody, I'm back, this time with a tutorial in Toon Boom. A couple of my students were asking how to set up a character in Toon Boom, and today I'm gonna make just a quick tutorial about it. So let's get started. I'm using this runner character which my student made for one of the classes, Devin Krajca. I'm using his character. He did a good job on designing the character for rigging purposes, and I went ahead and I cleaned up the layers because I wanted to make sure that when I bring the character into Toon Boom, everything is clear and clean. So one thing to keep in mind is that if you want to bring in a character that you designed in Illustrator or in Photoshop, you have to make sure that you are having one layer per each part of the character. And since we are going to deform the character using some deformers in Toon Boom, we don't need to separate the upper arm, for example, from the lower arm and such. I'm going to just quickly go over the layering here so you can see what I have done in terms of the layering. And then after that, I'm going to show you how we can bring this character in Toon Boom and start rigging it. So I'm going to go over the layers here and just hide them one by one so we can see what I've done. All right, so this is the front sleeve. The arm, the entire arm is just one layer. Let me just solo this layer. Not able to... So the entire arm, as you can see, is connected together, even though we have separate pieces here. But again, since we are going to deform the arm, we don't need to have two different layers for the upper arm and lower arm. I even went ahead and connected the finger, the pinky finger of this arm to the entire arm as well. However, I separated the fingers. So this is the ring finger, this is the middle finger, and the index. The thumb is not showing up, so we're fine. I could actually duplicate this one and bring it here for the front arm as well, but for now I'm fine. That's the arm. The torso is just one piece, the body. I'm gonna go over the face in more detail. So the leg is also one separate piece. So as you can see, the front leg is just this part of the leg without the pants. So this is the leg. On top of that, we have the pant here. All right, so here's the pant. Okay, the shoe is also a separate piece, just one piece. This is the front shoe. The same construction for the rear leg. The hip is one layer as well. It makes it easier when you want to set it up. The neck is one layer, just one layer. And also here I did the same thing, so I separated the thumb. Here's the arm, here's the fingers, middle finger, ring, pinky, and thumb. Apparently I overlooked the thumb. Let me separate it. So here's the thumb. I'm gonna bring it out. All right, what else? Let's also go to the face. The face, the background of the face is one layer, and I also separated the ear, the tongue, the eyebrow, the eye, and even for the eye I went ahead and separated the pupils from the white part, so later we can actually move the pupil without move the pupil to actually make some facial expression. So here's the pupil, one layer, and here's the eye as one layer. So the character is for now ready, so we can go back to Toon Boom and see how we can deal with this character. I'm gonna save this. I've already opened up a new file in Toon Boom. There's nothing in it, it's just a new fresh scene, and I'm going to show you how you can bring in the Illustrator file, which is a little bit different than Photoshop. So for bringing Illustrator file, there are a couple methods to do that. I'm going to show you one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and in the library panel, there is a folder that comes with a project, with any project, and by default it's locked. I'm going to unlock it by right clicking on it and choosing right to modify. It's gonna remove that lock sign there, and then I'm going to, apparently I'm already having this, I'm gonna delete this. All right, and I'm going to import the Illustrator file. So right click on the folder here, the library folder, and I'm going to choose import file. Okay, let's get to the folder. Just to be a little bit more organized, I'm going to also go to the Finder and move the Illustrator file that I just created into this folder. Characters runner. All right. It will import it as a template. And now that the character is imported as a template, still we need to do one more step. I'm going to right click on this template and open it as a folder. Okay, it will make a folder here in the library. In the elements, we're going to see all the layers. Unfortunately, they are renamed, so we have to go in Toon Boom and name them again. If you are importing a PSD file, or if you have already designed your character in Toon Boom, you're not going to have all of these steps to import your Illustrator file in. All right, so for now, I'm going to just drag all of these single layers and bring them into the timeline. It's bringing all the layers. All right. So all the layers here are here. We need to just organize them again, name them, and continue setting that up in Toon Boom. I'm going to just go ahead and do all of these while I pause the video. All right, I'm back. So I went ahead, I named all the layers. I even rearranged them in the timeline. So the layerings are working for me now. So the first thing is to make sure that we are creating pegs for all of these drawings. These are the drawing layers. There are a lot of benefits for not rigging the drawing layers, but making the connections all on the peg layers. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a peg for all of these layers. I can select all the layers and hit Control P, and it's gonna make a peg for it. So Control P or Command P if you are using Mac computer. If you get this error saying that you have to be in the display all mode, go ahead and bring in the display toolbar, and here just change this to display all for now. All right, so Control P to make a peg for that. Toon Boom will name the pegs also for you. It will make the connection for you, so it's very easy and handy if you select the layers. All right, so now that we have the pegs here, the next step is to make sure that the anchor points, the pivot points, are correct for each one of these pegs. I did not work on the drawing pivot points at all. In most cases, since we are going to control them using the pegs, and we're going to rotate and control them using the pegs, almost the only thing that matters is the pivot point of the pegs. So for now, I'm going to just go ahead and one by one just fix the pivot points of the pegs here. All right, so I'm going to select the sleeve, front sleeve peg. It's here. I'm going to use the rotate tool here, and I'm going to click on this pivot point and bring this pivot point for that peg up in the correct position. Okay, so the pegs pivot points are fine now. We can even test any of these layers just to make sure that the pegs are in the correct position. So here's the leg. Awesome. So save. Next step is to maybe start creating the bones for this structure. Before that, I'm going to actually make the hierarchy in the node view. So when we create the deformations, they're going to be in the right place. So node view. Here are my nodes. I'm gonna arrange them in the node view. Okay. All right, let's make the hierarchy first, and then we are gonna place the bones on these. So what I did here for the head is that I had the head to follow the neck. So the neck is the parent for the head. The head is the parent for all of the facial expressions, facial features. So Head controls the tongue, the eye, the brow, the ear, and here I'm also having the pupil to be following the eye. So when I grab the eye and move it, the pupil will follow with that as well. So here's that. We can even test the head. I'm gonna select on the head, and by the way, again, I'm using the peg selection mode for the selection mode here for the transform tool, which actually helps you to select the pegs directly in the viewport rather than going to the node view to select them, because by default when you click here it will select the shapes, the drawings, and we don't like that. So I'm gonna go to tool properties for the transform tool, and I'm gonna select the peg selection mode, and wherever I click it will actually select the peg that contains that drawing. And a guide for you is that if these lines here are yellow, it means that you are in the peg selection mode, because by default it's like this, you are selecting the drawing, and we don't like that. So I'm gonna enable the peg selection mode, select the head, and I'm going to one more time test the rotation of the head just to make sure that the facial features are following with that. Awesome. So that's the head. Also, one more thing that you can do is that you can, in the node view, you can group them all together, so you don't need to select all of them one by one and move them, or click and marquee select them. Since we know all of these are actually belonging to the head, we can group them together in the node view. So I'm gonna bring the neck over. Maybe I can include the neck too. So I'm gonna include the neck. Here's the head. And all of these can be grouped all together in the node view. All right, so I'm gonna select all of these, go into the menu here, and insert a backdrop. Okay, this way it will just group them, and you can just easily select and move all of these nodes together without any hassle. So that's a perfect feature. All right, so if you wanna edit this backdrop, you can click on this triangle and just drag it to enable the edit tool for this tool. And now you can just move it anywhere. You can remove any node from that. You can add more nodes to it. And when you are done, you can just click off of it and it will just group them back together. Okay, so that's the head. Let's move on to the one of the arms, maybe. I'm gonna go to the back arm. So here are all the back arm nodes. Back arm. Let me grab this. Just bring it over. Okay. Let's create the hierarchy on the arm, on the back arm. So here's the thumb arm. I believe the arm will be the parent for everything. So I'm going to bring up the arm. For now, I'm going to connect the sleeve to it as well. So here's the sleeve. Okay, so I accidentally included that in this backdrop here. So again, click and drag to edit, enter in the edit mode. I'm gonna move this out and click off it. All right, so now this backdrop is back. Okay, so let's bring in the sleeve peg. Sleeve peg, I'm gonna connect it to the arm. So the arm is the parent of the sleeve. And also I'm gonna connect the thumb to it for now. Soon we are going to create a kinematic output to make sure that the fingers are not deformed. So that's the thumb. All of these actually can be connected to the arm for now. I keep saying for now because in future we're going to break them and connect them to the kinematic output. All right, let's test it. I'm going to select the arm and rotate it. Awesome. I'm going to select all the fingers and rotate them. Cool. Awesome. So let's make another backdrop for this arm. And one more thing to keep in mind is that when you are making hierarchy with the pegs, make sure that you are making the hierarchy on the pegs, not on the drawings. That is sometimes happening. So you connect one of these pegs, for example, to the drawing. The drawings nodes are blue, the pegs are green. You may have noticed. Okay, let's move on to the other arm. If you select something in any of these views, you can go to another view and hit O to zoom onto it. For example, if you select something here, you can hit O here to find that in the timeline. So arm pick controls all these fingers and the sleeve. All right. Let me see if we missed anything. Okay. All right. And let's see what else is missing here. So that's the body. Okay, let's take care of the legs for now. Front leg. We don't have toes, so it's going to be faster. Front shoe, front leg, front pant. All right, so let's do the same thing. I'm going to have the leg to be the parent of the sleeve, the pant, and also the shoes. So front shoe. And the last one is the back leg. All right, so these are different parts. Let's now connect them all together. So we have the body and we have the hip. We can actually have the hip to be the main parent. So I'm going to parent the body to the hip. Hip controls the body controls the face. The body will also control the arms. So I'm going to connect the body directly to the peg that we had for the arm. Okay, as well as the front arm. See how these backdrops are actually helping us to organize our setup. I accidentally grabbed the output from the shape, the drawing, so let's go back and connect it to the peg. All right, the front leg and the back leg, we can connect them to the hip. So here's the hip. Can connect the front leg and back leg to that. All right. Make sure that you're grabbing the peg, as I said. All right, so everything is connected now, and we're going to move on to the next setup, which is adding the deformers to the both arms, the torso, to the hands. I'm sorry, to the arms and the legs. All right. Okay. I'm going to do more cleanup here in the node view after we are done. All right, so I'm going to save. Let's start with the easiest one, which is the torso with the body. And we're going to add deformers to that now. Okay, so let's go to the body. When you want to create the deformers, you have to make sure that you're selecting the drawing. You can even solo it to make it easier to see everything. And then you can go to the rigging tools, and if you want, you can even open up the tool properties. I prefer to just, for now, click on the bone tool. I'm not going to create the curve tools. For now, I'm going to just focus on the bones. So click, click, and click. Okay. Immediately, it will give you the bones. Let's test the rotations. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let me also show you what happens if we use the curve tool to deform this body. So I'm going to go back to the node view and delete this deformer. Okay, so we are back. This time I'm going to use the curve tool to deform that, which is this one. I'm going to click and drag, click and drag. It will give me these Bezier handles as well, so it will make the deformations to be a little bit more smooth. Let me show you how does it work. All right, so as you can see, we can play with these Bezier handles. I'm going to talk about those as well. However, you should be careful because there is a high risk that you can just stretch the body and lose the volume of any part of the body. So if that's what you want, go ahead and use it. I'm going to go back and delete this deformer for now. And as I said, I'm going to use the bones for this torso. So in the node view, let me check this back to bones. I'm going to go to the node view and I'm going to delete this deformations. And this time I'm going to go and again use the bones to create 2 bones for this. Okay, if you need to change the radius of this joint here, feel free to do so, and when you are done you can get out of the tool and you can test the deformations. All right, let's move on to the arms. I'm going to unsolo this layer. Let's go to the front arm. Here's the front arm, and I'm going to create 2 joints for the arm. Also, since I merged this part of the hand to the arm, I'm gonna need to have another joint here so I can twist the wrist as well, or bend the wrist as well. So I'm gonna need to create 3 joints, which means I need to click 4 times. So let's select the drawing. Is this the correct one? Okay, that's the back arm. Let's go to the front arm. Here's the drawing. I can solo it. All right, go to the deformer tool and click 1 for the shoulder, 1 for the elbow, 1 for the wrist, and I'm gonna just finish it right here. I mean, I don't wanna spend time on setting up the fingers, so for now I'm gonna just finish the setup here. Let's also test the setup. Okay, it's working. We need to make it a little bit more pointy, the bend itself, to have the bend to be a little bit sharp. So I'm gonna go back to the tool itself. This is new in Toon Boom 16, I believe. You can just directly go and modify your setup immediately. Okay. And now let's go back. All right. Okay. For now, I'm fine. All right, let's move on to the next arm. All right, when we are done, we can test the deformation. All right, that's good. Let's move on to the legs. Unsolo this, find the legs here in the node view. This is the front leg. I want to deform the shape, so select the shape. Find it in the timeline, solo it, and create the bones for this one. Awesome. I'm saving. All right, let's go to the back leg. I believe I covered everything. How about also bending the neck? So let's go up and find the neck. All right, so I believe we are done. And now it's time to connect the features together, because right now, if you notice, for example, if I bend the torso, the arms are not following with that, even though they are in the hierarchy, they are connected to it. That's only because these layers, when we are placing the bones on them, we are deforming the drawing, but the pegs are staying in the same spot. So in order to connect something to a deformed drawing, we need to use kinematic outputs, and we need to connect these pegs to those kinematic outputs. I'm going to start by the spine to show you how we can manage that. So let's find the body. If you remember, as I said, when you create a deformer on a shape, on a drawing, it will make a deformer node on it, and depending on how many bones you have created for that, if you go inside this deformer body group, you will see that we are having these bones here. These are actually the bones that we have created, and you can rename them. I'm going to rename this one, for example, to torso 01 bone, and I'm using prefixes and suffixes here just to make sure that I'm not having same names, because Toon Boom doesn't allow you to have same names for different nodes, because eventually we're going to create kinematic outputs as well. So if we call them all torso 01, we're going to have some issues. So torso 01, and close it, and this one torso 02 bone. All right, okay. And I want to be able to track torso 2, so I'm going to create a kinematic output. I'm going to go to the node library and type in kinematic. Kinematic output is here. I want to track torso 2, so I'm going to connect torso 2 to the kinematic output. And I want to be able to see this output in the main hierarchy here. Currently, this deformation node only has one node here, one output here, which means whatever you connect to this is going to get deformed. We don't want to deform the arms because the arms already have their own deformations. We just want to have the arms which everything is actually the child of this peg here. So here's the back arm. I want to have this, oops, let me edit this. All right, so if I grab this this peg here and play with it, or for example rotate it, it will rotate everything including that deformation. So if I just connect this peg to that kinematic output that I have created for the torso, then the arm is going to follow with that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this group on the body. This is the kinematic output that I have created. Let's immediately name this. This is torso 2, and I'm gonna give it a suffix of kinematic output KO just to be able to recognize it. And I'm gonna bring this out of this group. So if I go back here, now you can see that I'm having another extra output. I can use this output to control the peg for the arm. So I'm going to bring up the arm, and I'm going to connect the peg for the arm to this kinematic output. Currently the arm is following the body, so I'm gonna replace that with the kinematic output. If you go back here and click on this bone on the torso and rotate it, you will see that the arm is gonna follow with that. We can do the same thing for the other arms. We can use the same kinematic output. So I'm gonna go back here, bring in the front arm. Here's the front arm, and I'm gonna connect the arm, the peg for the arm, to this kinematic output. Let me reorganize this backdrop here just because we added that deformer. Okay, so kinematic output of the body to the front arm. Now if I grab the torso bone and bend the torso one more time, that's awesome. Let's also connect the neck to that. So the neck has its own peg, so which is found on the face backdrop. This is the neck. All right, and we are going to connect it to the kinematic output of the body. I'm not able to see the neck peg here. Maybe we have put it somewhere and I did not include that in the backdrop. Neck head. Did I not make it? Oh, here we go. That's the peg. It's not there. All right, it's not supposed to be here. Edit this backdrop. I'm going to take this out and the deformations. Okay, so we're done with this backdrop, and let's bring this backdrop in and move the pegs and the deformation into that backdrop. I'm glad that happened, so you can see how we can edit all of these backdrops as well. Okay, we are done with the face. Oops, did not include that. All right, so I'm going to connect the neck peg to, again, the same kinematic output coming from the torso. Here's the kinematic output. Connect it to neck. All right, now let's test it one more time. Here we go. Awesome. Now I want to do the same thing for the head. So let's have the head to follow this kinematic output. We need to create another kinematic output for the neck. So let's get into this group, name the bones. You can name this neck 01 bone. You can also say neck base bone. That is fine. And here's neck 2. Coming from my, I prefer to name them like this. Okay, so let's create another kinematic output for the neck 2 bone. So kinematic output. I'm gonna connect the neck 2, tracked neck 2. So I'm gonna also rename this kinematic output to neck 2 kinematic output. Okay, and we're gonna be able to see this kinematic output from this multiport out. So it will show up right here. This is the deformation. Okay, so let's connect the head to that. The head is here, fortunately, so connect it to the head. All right, now let's test it. Now I can bend the neck, and the head is gonna follow with that. Awesome. So we took care of the upper body. Let's do the same thing for the lower body. The lower body, connecting the legs to the hip is just as easy as parenting the pegs that contain them. So if you want to test it, you can go here and select the peg. The peg is already connected to the body. I'm gonna that's the pants. All right, let's grab this, the leg that contains everything, and we can move it. And I believe it's already connected to the hip. So let's select the hip. If I rotate the hip, it's gonna rotate everything. The other leg is not connected. I will see what's happening up there. Okay, so we just need to make sure that the shoe is following with the leg. So if I rotate the leg, it's the shoe is not connected. So we need to go in the deformations for the legs as well and create some kinematic outputs. So let's name this one head and neck. All right. So back arm, we are done with that. Front arm, we are done with it. Let's now just focus on the legs. All right, so in the legs, we have the deformation here. All right, let's get into the folder here by clicking on this triangle. And this is which leg we are working on. Let's go back. This is the front leg. Front leg 01 bone. Front leg 02 bone. And we need to track the second bone, so kinematic output. Kinematic output, and I'm going to connect second bone to take it out, and we need to connect the front shoe to that. So front shoe is going to get connected to the kinematic output. Okay, awesome. Let's test it. The shoe is following, and now if I grab this bone and rotate it, the pant is not following. So for the legs, since we are having two features here, we need to, and one of them is following this bone, the other one is following that bone. Here we need to have two kinematic outputs. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to create another kinematic output to be able to track this first bone. All right, so I can actually copy that name here and rename this one. So this is leg 1. All right, and I'm going to connect it to the multiport output, and the order of connection is important. You have to make sure that whatever order you have here, read the same order from the actual node view. So I'm going to have the first bone to be the second output, and the second kinematic output to be the third output. This is the deformed output. This is the first kinematic output, and this is the second kinematic output. So if I go here, the shoe is connected to the second one, perfect. And we need to have the pants to be connected to the first kinematic output. Now if I grab this bone, you will see that the pant is following with that. All right, awesome. So save, and we need to take care of the other leg, and we are done. So that's the back leg. Apparently I did not make a, oh, it's here, deformation. All right. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's name the bones. This is the back leg. And we again need to have two kinematic outputs. This is the first bone, and this is the second bone. And we need to take them out of this group. First kinematic output, second kinematic output, and if we go back here, we will see three outputs are showing up. So the shoe will follow the second kinematic output. The pant will follow the first kinematic output. Now if I go to the back leg and go back here in the timeline, maybe it's better to find that layer here. All right, that's the back leg, and I can solo this maybe. That's the hip, that is the back leg, and I can solo the shoe and the pant. All right, awesome. So let's test it one more time. Yeah, everything is connected. And if I go back here, click on one of these bones here. Awesome. I'm gonna save. Let's zoom in and play with the neck. Awesome. If we want, we can actually rotate the head as well because it has its own peg. And the eyes, everything here is also connected. So we can move the eye. We can rotate the eye. We can make some expressions on the eyebrows. The ear is also disconnected, right? So different layer. And for now I will call this character done. All right, maybe in another tutorial I will talk about how we can set up the eyes, but for now we're done with the body. Just to show you how the fingers will work, also we can pose the fingers, because as I said, I disconnected them. I made a separate layer for each one of these. Okay, so that's the finger. Maybe it's not a good pivot point position for this one, but I'm fine for now. Here's the thumb. Oh, I did not connect these. Okay, I'm glad I tested that. So the fingers are not connected. So we need to have a kinematic output from the wrist to connect the fingers to that. All right, let's find the hand, back arm. Here's the arm. Here's the wrist. I have to rename all of these, but for now I'm gonna just rename this wrist here. So back, wrist, bone. And I'm going to create a kinematic output for the wrist. Okay. Connect the kinematic output to that. Take it out. I believe I need to have another kinematic output. I will get back to it. So let's connect all the fingers to this new output here, the port here. All right, so all of these fingers connected to the kinematic output. Okay, let's test it. Here we go. Okay, You can create bones for all of these fingers too, but for now I'm fine. I think this is the place that I said. Yeah, so how about having the sleeve also following the shoulder? So we need to have another kinematic output here in the arm deformation node. So here's the shoulder. Let's create a kinematic output for it. Let's name it back shoulder bone. This is kinematic output. Actually, kinematic output. This is the bone. I mean, now that we named all of these, let's rename this one too. This is the elbow. Okay. And let's take this out in the multi-port output. I'm going to put it in between. And here I'm going to connect the sleeve to this first kinematic output. Now if I grab and rotate this arm, everything is following. We need to do the same thing for the other side, but I guess you got the idea. All right, let's also, maybe we can do another couple more organizations processes here. So let's, oops, why I'm doing this. All right, so let's put all of these also inside another backdrop. You could include them into these backdrops as well, but I prefer to have the main body and the root to be separate. For now, that's it. Hope you liked it. I'm going to make a couple more tutorials inside Toon Boom to talk about different features of this character. For now, I'm done.